At my sister's wedding, my parents demanded that I give her the $450,000 house I built with my own hands. When I refused, my father lost control and hit me with a metal cake stand, knocking me to the floor. The whole room went quiet. Then my sister's new husband exposed a truth that shattered my parents' story and changed the night forever. The metal cake stand struck my head before I even understood my father was swinging it. One moment I was sitting at my table, third row, close to the dance floor, watching my sister Claire spin under the lights in her $8,000 Vera Wang gown. The next moment, cold iron smashed into my temple, and the world tilted like someone pulled the ground out from under me. I fell hard. My chair scraped backward. My shoulder hit the polished wooden floor first, then my head bounced once, then again. The band stopped in the middle of the song. 200 guests went silent. All I could hear was a sharp, ringing sound, high and constant, like a smoke alarm screaming inside my skull. I reached up with my hand. When I pulled it back, my fingers were red. Warm blood ran down past my ear and into the collar of my dress shirt, the navy one I bought just for this wedding. I paid $120 for it at Nordstrom Rack because I wanted to look nice for Claire's big day. My mother leaned over me. Her face looked blurry, like I was underwater. "Get up, Daniel," she said. "You are embarrassing us." Even through the ringing and the dizziness, those words cut deep because they were exactly the kind of words I'd heard my whole life. 6 hours earlier, I had been in my house, finishing the trim work in the guest bathroom. After 3 years and 2 months, the build was finally complete. Every detail was exactly how I wanted it. Crown molding in the living room. Subway tile in the kitchen. Hardwood floors, I sanded and refinished twice because the first attempt came out streaky and I refused to accept that. The house sat on 2 acres my grandmother left to me in her will. Elizabeth May Corderero passed away in February 2019 at age 87. The land was worth about $40,000 when she left it to me. But now, with the finished house on it, the whole property appraised at $450,000. And I did not just pay someone to build it. I built it myself, not as a figure of speech, not the way people say they build a business or build a life. I mean, I framed walls, set beams, ran pipes, pulled wires, hung drywall, laid flooring. I built it. I started working construction at 19. I joined a framing crew for a developer in Henderson. The pay was basically minimum wage plus overtime, and overtime was constant. I worked 80-hour weeks in heat that hit 110 degrees. My crew chief was Rayon Gutierrez, a man with 30 years in the trade who could frame a house faster than most people could clean a garage. On my third day, he looked at me and asked, "You want to learn for real?" I said yes. He told me, "Then shut up and watch." So I watched. For 7 years. I watched how to measure, how to cut, how to square corners, how to read blueprints like they were stories. I learned how walls fit together, how load-bearing beams carried weight, how mistakes could cause cracks months later, how small errors became huge, expensive disasters. I learned plumbing from my neighbor Walter Chun. Walter was 73, retired, but still sharp and direct. He taught me about P-traps and vent stacks and what happens when you rush a slope on a drain line. He drilled safety into my head. He told me never to use the wrong fittings on gas lines, never to cut corners, never to guess when you can test. I learned electrical from night classes at the community college. The instructor was Maria Valdez, a licensed electrician with 29 years in the field. She failed me twice on my practice panel before I finally got it right. She looked me in the eye and said electricity does not care if you're tired. It does not care if you are having a bad day. You do it right or someone dies. So I did it right. I saved every dollar I could. I lived in a tiny studio apartment that cost $680 a month. I ate cheap ramen more nights than I want to admit. I drove a 2004 Honda Civic with 240,000 miles on it. I did not date. I did not take vacations. I did not spend money on anything that was not work, tools, materials, or savings. My parents helped one time. They lent me $10,000 for the foundation and framing lumber. I paid them back in 8 months. Every penny, plus interest. I made sure of that because I already knew how money gifts in my family could become strings, and I refused to have strings attached to my house. That house was mine. Every square foot, every nail, every blister, every cut on my hands, every ache in my back. All of it. At 2:30 p.m. that day, I showered, put on my Navy suit, and drove to the Riverside Grand Hotel for Claire's wedding reception. Claire looked beautiful. I will not deny that. She was 26, my younger sister, blonde hair pinned up in a careful style that looked expensive and perfect. She also had a life that looked shiny from the outside. She worked at an investment firm downtown. She drove a BMW 5 Series. She always had her nails done and her hair styled. People liked her. She knew how to smile in a way that made others feel lucky to be included. Her fiancé was Marcus Reed. I actually like Marcus. He seemed straightforward and honest. He did not act fake. He asked real questions. He listened. He looked people in the eye. If I was choosing to match, I would have said Claire found a good man. The ceremony itself was normal. Traditional music. Claire cried. Marcus cried. My mom cried. The kind of crying that says, look at my perfect family. Look at my perfect moment. It all felt like standard wedding emotion. The reception started at 6 p.m. The ballroom looked like a Pinterest board came to life. White roses everywhere. String lights above. Tall centerpieces that probably cost $300 each. 16 tables, 12 guests per table. A live band. An open bar. I had contributed $5,000 to this wedding. My parents asked for help and said Claire needed it. I wrote the check without hesitation because I still had that belief burned into my brain, the belief that family is family and you help when asked. I sat at table 9 with family friends I barely knew. People I recognized from holidays and graduation parties. I made small talk. I ate chicken that tasted like rubber. I drank mediocre Cabernet and tried to relax. At 7:45 p.m., my parents walked up to my table. Robert and Helen Corderero. Dad was 58. He worked as a real estate agent and drove a Lexus he could not truly afford. He had always cared about appearances. Mom was 56, worked part-time at an interior design firm, and had opinions about how everyone else should live their life, especially me. Daniel, we need to talk, Mom said. Her voice had that tone she used when she wanted something, but planned to act like she was being reasonable. Dad pulled out a chair and sat down heavily like he owned the space. Your sister needs a house, he said. I set my wine glass down. Okay, I said. There are plenty for sale. Interest rates are decent right now. Dad leaned in. We want you to give her yours. For a second, my brain refused to accept the words. The table went quiet. The woman next to me, a friend of my mother's, suddenly stared at her dessert plate like it contained the secrets of the universe. I actually laughed because it sounded so ridiculous. What? I said. My house. Yes, Mom said calmly. The house you built. Claire needs it more than you do. My stomach dropped. That cold, sick feeling hit me. The feeling you get when you realize someone is serious about something completely unreasonable. You are serious, I said. Completely, Dad replied. Mom folded her hands like she was explaining math to a child. You are single. Claire is starting a family. She needs space, a yard, stability. I stared at her. I spent 3 years building that house. 3 years. Dad cut in, and we helped you. You lent me $10,000, I said. I paid it back with interest 8 months later. Mom lifted her chin. We gave you the land. No, I said. Grandma left me that land in her will. I have the documents notarized and filed with the county recorder. My grandmother had been very specific. She left her house to my parents. She left $40,000 in savings split equally between me and Claire. She left the vacant land to me alone. Dad's eyes narrowed. That land should have been divided equally. Then you should have told Grandma that before she died. Mom said sharply. My chest tightened. I thought about the years I worked, the sweat, the sacrifices, the nights I fell asleep with sawdust still in my hair because I was too tired to shower. I thought about the pride I felt each time a room finally looked finished. I kept my voice controlled, but it took effort. No, I said. I will not give Claire my house. Mom's face hardened into something cold. We are asking you to do the right thing, she said. The right thing is for Claire to buy her own house, I said like I did. She cannot afford it, Mom snapped. Then she waits, saves, works like I did. Mom looked at me like I was speaking another language. You do not understand. I understand perfectly, I said. You want me to hand over 3 years of my life because Claire did not plan ahead. At that moment, Claire walked up, smiling, glowing, still riding her wedding high. Marcus was a step behind her. What's going on? Claire asked. My mother answered loudly enough that nearby tables began to listen. Your brother is being selfish, she announced. We asked him to give you his house. He refused. Claire's smile vanished. Her face changed fast, like someone turned off a light. You will not give me your house, she said. Claire, I said, trying to keep calm, it is my house. I built it. Her eyes filled with anger. I am your sister. You will not help me. I gave you $5,000 for this wedding, I said. That is nothing compared to a house, Claire snapped. People were watching now, heads turning, conversations stopping. The band was between songs, so everything felt louder. I worked 80-hour weeks for years to build that house, I said. I built it with my hands. Dad interrupted, voice rising. Yes, because that is what family does. We sacrifice for each other. No, I said, and my anger finally slipped out. That is what doormats do. Dad's face turned red. What did you just say? You heard me, I replied. He stood up so fast his chair scraped loudly across the floor. This is your last chance, he said. You signed the house over to your sister or you're out of this family. The room was fully quiet now. People stared. I could feel their eyes. I looked at my father. I had worked construction since I was 19. I had built a life piece by piece, and I had done it without asking anyone to carry me. I said, I'm not signing anything. If that means you cut me off, then do it. Mom stood up too. This is about loyalty, she said. About putting family first. I answered, I am putting myself first because apparently no one else will. That was the moment everything broke. Dad reached behind him and grabbed something from a nearby table. A metal cake stand, one of those heavy, tiered decorative stands used in wedding displays. Raw iron, maybe 8 pounds. It was part of the decor. He swung it at me. I saw it coming, but my body did not react fast enough. The metal hit my temple. Pain flashed white. Sound exploded. I felt like my skull cracked, like my brain rattled inside my head. I was on the floor. Everything became muffled. I saw shoes. Lots of shoes. People shifting, gasping, someone screaming. My head felt wrong, like it was not connected properly. Hands touched my shoulder. My mother leaned down and said, get up. You are embarrassing us. Blood dripped warm down my neck. My shirt collar soaked it up. I lifted my hand again. More red. And someone pushed through the crowd. A big man in a black suit with a security badge on his belt. He was tall, maybe 6'2", around 200 pounds. His badge read Officer J. Williams, Riverside Grand Security. I saw that, he said loudly. Sir, do not move. My father pointed at him. Stay out of this. This is family business. Williams answered. That is assault with a deadly weapon. He raised his radio. Dispatch. Need police now for assault with a weapon at Riverside Grand Ballroom level. Victim has a head wound and is bleeding. Suspect is still on scene. The radio crackled. A female voice said copy. Units responding for minute arrival. I tried to sit up. The room spun. My stomach rolled. Marcus knelt beside me. Daniel, are you okay? I tried to answer, but my words felt thick. I was not okay. Marcus stood up and looked straight at my father. What is wrong with you? My father snapped. This does not concern you. Marcus said, I just married into this family. It absolutely concerns me. Then Marcus pulled out his phone and opened his email. And there is something everyone here needs to know, he said. Claire grabbed his arm. Marcus, do not. Marcus pulled away. No. He held his phone up so people near us could see the screen. This is from my accountant, he said. Richard Morrison, CPA, 23 years in practice. He sent this yesterday at 4:47 p.m. Marcus scrolled and read the key part out loud. He said the email explained a serious financial discrepancy and stated that Claire had accumulated $47,283 in credit card debt across 4 accounts. Debt she did not disclose during their planning. Claire's face went white. The room went dead silent again, but this silence was different. It was shock, judgment, people processing. $47,000, Marcus repeated. And that is just credit card debt. My father turned toward Claire slowly, like he could not believe what he was hearing. Is that true? He demanded. Claire did not answer fast enough. Dad's voice rose. Claire, is it true? Claire whispered, I can explain. Marcus kept scrolling. Gucci, Prada, Louis Vuitton, Hermes. He named brand after brand. He said he'd check her closet. He said some items still had tags. He mentioned a $6,000 handbag that was used twice. Around us, guests lifted their phones. Recording. Taking pictures. The red recording light on one phone was clearly visible. Outside, sirens grew louder. Officer Williams spoke into his radio again, giving details. Male suspect, late 50s, gray suit. Weapon is heavy iron cake stand. Victim has visible head wound. Williams also stated he was a former sheriff's deputy and witnessed everything. My father sank back into his chair. His face went pale. His hand shook. Red and blue lights flashed through the ballroom windows. 3 police officers entered. Riverside Police Department. 2 men and 1 woman. The lead officer wore sergeant stripes. Williams waved them over. Victim here. Suspect here. Unprovoked assault with a weapon in front of 200 witnesses. He pointed at the cake stand. There was blood on one corner. My blood. The sergeant looked at my father. Sir, stand up. My father tried to speak. This is a misunderstanding. Turn around. Hands behind your back, the sergeant ordered. Officer, you do not understand. My father started again. Turn around, the sergeant repeated, sharper. My father turned. The handcuffs clicked shut. Metal on wrist. Final and real. Marcus still held his phone. So let me get this straight, Marcus said loudly, his voice carrying across the ballroom. You assaulted your son because he refused to give away the house he built with his own hands to someone who spent $47,000 on handbags. My mother stared at Claire like her mind was breaking. One of the officers knelt beside me. His name tag said Officer M. Rodriguez. He told me paramedics were on the way and said I had a significant head wound. He told me not to move. The female officer, Officer S. Chun, photographed the scene. The cake stand. The blood. My father in cuffs. The floor where I fell. The sergeant read my father his rights. Claire began crying. Daniel, please, she said. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt something in me harden. Please, what? I asked. My voice sounded rough and weak. Tell them it was an accident, Claire begged. It was not an accident, I said. He grabbed a weapon and hit me in front of 200 people because I would not give you my house. The paramedics arrived with a stretcher and medical bags. A woman in her 40s knelt beside me. Her name tag said Rachel Torres, EMT. She introduced herself and asked my name. I told her. She asked me what day it was. I tried to answer, but my brain was slow. I said Saturday, then I corrected myself, then I said it was my sister's wedding day. Rachel gave a small professional smile and said that was good because it meant I was oriented. She checked my pupils with a light and said she suspected a concussion and needed to transport me to the hospital to assess the wound properly. They helped me onto the stretcher. The moment they lifted me, the room spun and my stomach lurched. As they rolled me toward the exit, I passed my father in handcuffs. He would not look at me. Williams was giving his statement to the sergeant. Guests were being questioned. My mother stood frozen, pale, trembling. Claire sobbed into Marcus's chest. Marcus looked stunned, like he could not believe his wedding night turned into this. They wheeled me through the lobby past the check-in desk and the concierge, who looked horrified. A family checking into the hotel stared as I rolled by strapped to the stretcher, blood-soaked and dizzy. The ambulance waited outside. They loaded me in. Rachel climbed in and started in 4. She said they were taking me to Riverside Memorial because they had good neurological care. The doors shut. Sirens and lights. The ambulance pulled away from my sister's wedding reception. The emergency room was chaos. Saturday night crowds. Drunk driving victims, fights, overdoses. They triaged me quickly because head wounds look dramatic and can hide serious danger. Dr. James Park examined me. He looked early 40s, exhausted but focused. His badge showed he was an attending physician in emergency medicine. He had me follow his finger. Left, right, up, down. He asked if I felt nauseous or dizzy. I said yes. He ordered a CT scan to rule out skull fracture or brain bleeding. They took me to radiology and slid me into the machine. The tech told me to hold still. The scanner hummed and took images of my head. About 20 minutes later, I was back in the ER bay. Dr. Park returned with a tablet. Good news, he said. No fracture, no bleeding. You have a moderate concussion and a 2-inch laceration that needs staples. I heard the word staples and felt sick. He said 6 staples would likely be enough and explained the wound was too deep for glue and too jagged for stitches. He numbed my scalp with lidocaine. It burned. Then he stapled the cut shut. 6 metallic clicks. 6 sharp tugs. He gave me discharge instructions. Follow up with a primary care doctor in 5 days. Return immediately if symptoms worsen, especially severe headache, vomiting, confusion, or loss of consciousness. Then he asked if I had someone who could drive me home. I said I would call my neighbor. A detective arrived. Mid-40s, salt, and pepper hair tied back, badge on her belt. Her name, tag, read Detective Maria Sullivan, Riverside Police. She said she needed my statement. Dr. Park told her to keep it brief because I needed rest. Detective Sullivan asked if I consented to a recorded statement. I said yes. She stated the date and time for the recording and asked me to explain what happened. So I told her everything. The conversation, the demand, my refusal, my father's threat, the moment he grabbed the cake stand and hit me. She asked if my father threatened me before the strike. I repeated his word about giving me one last chance and saying I was out of the family. She asked if I felt my life was in danger. I said I felt my skull crack open, and that felt like danger to me. She told me they had Williams' statement and around 40 cell phone videos from guests. 40, I repeated, stunned. She said my father was booked for assault with a deadly weapon and bail would be set Monday morning. She asked if I wanted a restraining order. I said yes. She said I would receive a temporary order within 48 hours and handed me her card. She told me to call if I remembered anything else or if my father contacted me. Then she left. Dr. Park discharged me with concussion protocol papers and a prescription for pain medication. I called Walter Chun, my neighbor, the retired plumber who taught me so much. He answered quickly. I told him I needed a ride from Riverside Memorial. He asked what happened. I said it was a long story and asked if he could come anyway. Walter said he would be there in 20 minutes. Walter arrived in his old truck, a faded blue 2008 Ford F-150. He took one look at me, my bloody shirt, the staples, the hospital bracelet, and said nothing. He just helped me into the passenger seat. We drove in silence for 10 minutes. Finally, Walter asked, your parents? I said, my father. Walter asked why. I said, because I would not give Claire my house. Walter was quiet again, then said slowly, the house you built. Yes, I said. The house you worked on for 3 years with your own hands. Yes. Walter pulled in my driveway and looked at me. Your father is a fool, he said. Yeah, I answered. Your grandmother would be proud of you, Walter added. My throat tightened so hard I cannot speak. Walter helped me inside. He made sure I had water and my medication. He wrote his number on a note and left it on the counter and told me to call if I needed anything. Then he left. I stood in my living room and stared at the walls. Crown molding I installed over 4 weekends. Floors I refinished twice. Everything exactly how I wanted. My phone buzzed with messages. Dozens. Claire wrote that she was sorry. She wrote that Dad did not mean it. She asked me not to press charges. My mother wrote that I was destroying the family, that my father could go to prison, and asked if that was what I wanted. I deleted the messages and blocked both of their numbers. Then another message came from Marcus. He said he was sorry. He said he did not know about the debt until the accountant emailed him. He said he did not know my parents asked for my house. He asked if I was okay. I replied that I had a concussion and 6 staples, but I would live. Marcus messaged again. Claire wants to talk to you. I told him to tell Claire I had nothing to say. Marcus replied that he understood and said I was right about everything. I did not answer. I took the pain medication Dr. Park prescribed and lay down on my couch, the gray sectional I saved for 6 months to buy. I closed my eyes and tried not to picture my father's face as he swung the cake stand. I failed. Sunday morning I woke at 11:30 a.m. My head felt like it was splitting. There were 47 missed calls and 15 voicemails. I listened to none. I made black coffee and sat at my kitchen table, the one I built from reclaimed barnwood over 3 months because I wanted the finish perfect. My phone rang from an unknown number. I answered. Detective Sullivan said it was her and asked how I felt. I said I felt like I got hit by metal because I did. She told me my father had been arraigned. Bail was set at $50,000. He posted bond and was out. My stomach dropped. She told me the judge issued a no contact order. He cannot call, text, or come within 500 feet of me or my property. If he violated it, he would be arrested immediately. She also told me they had statements from 37 witnesses and that the case was solid. She said the district attorney would likely file formal charges Monday. I asked what charges. She said assault with a deadly weapon, a felony, with a possible 2 to 4 years if convicted. 2 to 4 years. My father in prison. Detective Sullivan asked if I had someone I could talk to. I said my neighbor. She told me to use my support system and call her if I needed anything. Then she hung up. I sat at my table for a long time, not moving, not drinking my coffee, just thinking about my father in handcuffs, my mother's cold face, Claire crying, and Marcus reading that email out loud. Then I got a text from another unknown number. It was Marcus. He said he was using his work phone and that Claire did not know. He said they needed to talk and asked if he could come over. I hesitated, then gave him my address. 847 Oakmont Drive. Marcus said he would be there in 30 minutes. He arrived around noon, still in his wedding clothes. Black tux, tie undone, face tired like he had not slept at all. He walked into my living room and looked around. He looked at the kitchen, the craftsmanship, the details. He said softly, "You really did build this yourself. Every wall. It is beautiful." I nodded. "Thanks." We sat down. He sat on the couch. I sat in an armchair. Marcus said Claire spent the night crying. He said my mother cried too. He said my father would not talk to anyone. I said good. Marcus swallowed. "Daniel, I am sorry." I stared at him. He hit me with metal because I would not give Claire a house. There is no excuse for that. Marcus nodded. "I know." He told me again he did not know about the debt until the accountant sent the email. He said Claire hid it with separate accounts. She made minimum payments, but it kept growing. He repeated the exact amount, $47,283. He rubbed his face and described what he found. Handbags, shoes, dresses worn once, some with tags still on. I asked why he did not say something before the wedding. He said because he loved her and thought they could work through it. But then he watched my parents demand my house, watched my father hit me, and watched Claire defend them, and something inside him broke. He said quietly, "She is not who I thought she was." Then he told me he was getting the marriage annulled. I blinked. Annulled. Marcus said they were married less than 24 hours and fraud is grounds for annulment in California. He said hiding that level of debt was fraud. He said he could not stay married to someone who watched her father assault her brother and then try to protect the people who did it. He told me he called his attorney that morning, Jennifer Chun, a family law lawyer with 15 years of experience. Marcus said the filing would happen Monday. He apologized again, for Claire, for my parents, for everything. I told him he did not have to. Marcus said yes, he did. He said what happened was unforgivable and I deserve better. Before he left, he paused and said my grandmother was smart for leaving me the land. He said she knew something. I asked what she knew. He said she knew I was the only one who would appreciate it, who would build something real. Then he left. 3 days later, the district attorney filed formal charges. Assault with a deadly weapon. Felony. My father's lawyer called me. Public defender Thomas Wright. He said he represented my father and wanted to discuss a plea agreement. I told him no. He said he understood I was angry. I said my father assaulted me in front of 200 people because I refused to give away my house. There was no plea. The lawyer said my father was willing to apologize, pay the medical bills, and attend anger management. I told him no again. I said my father made choices. He grabbed a weapon. He swung it at my head. Now he lives with consequences. I hung up. Detective Sullivan called later and said a preliminary hearing was scheduled for October 15th. She told me I would need to testify. I said I would be there. She warned the defense would try to frame it as a family argument, claim my father was upset, acted rashly, and did not intend serious harm. I said he hit me hard enough to need 6 staples. That is serious harm. 2 weeks later, Marcus's annulment went through. 43 hours married. I heard someone joked it might be the shortest marriage in the county. Claire tried calling me from my mother's phone. I answered by mistake. I heard her voice say Daniel, and I hung up immediately and blocked that number too. My father's lawyer called again with a new offer. Probation. Community service. Restitution. I said no. The lawyer said my father was 58 and a felony conviction would ruin his real estate license and end his career. I told him what I wanted was to sit at my sister's wedding without being attacked. But we do not always get what we want. October 15th came. The courthouse was cold, all marble and wood paneling. Judge Patricia Ramirez presided. She was 62, a former prosecutor known for being tough but fair. My father sat at the defense table with Thomas right beside him. My father looked smaller than I remembered. I testified for 47 minutes. I told the court about my parents demanding my house, my refusal, and my father hitting me. The defense lawyer tried to paint it as a contentious relationship. I said no, it was normal until he demanded I give away 3 years of my life. The lawyer said I refused to help my sister. I said I gave her $5,000 for her wedding and helped her plenty, but I would not give her my house. The lawyer tried to label me selfish. I said I was not a doormat. Judge Ramirez stopped the lawyer when he started editorializing and told him to ask questions properly. The prosecution called Officer Williams. He testified clearly. He described seeing my father grab the cake stand and strike me while I was sitting. He said it was not self-defense. He called it assault. 3 other wedding guests testified too. They all said the same thing. Judge Ramirez reviewed the videos, the photos, and my medical records. She ruled the case would go to trial. My father would remain out on bond, but the no-contact order stayed in place. Trial date was set for January 12th. In November, about 3 months after the assault, the staples were removed. The scar stayed 2 inches long, hidden along my hairline. Concussion symptoms lasted 6 weeks. Headaches, dizziness, sensitivity to light. I pushed through and went back to work. I accepted a job with a custom home builder. The owner, Marcus Delgado, had been in construction for decades and cared deeply about quality. He heard what happened and offered me a position as lead carpenter. The salary was $75,000 plus benefits. My first project was a kitchen remodel. The client wanted custom shaker cabinets, soft close hinges, and under-cabinet lighting. I built the cabinets myself. Every joint tight, every measurement exact. When the client saw them, she cried. Happy tears. She said they were perfect. They were. January 12th came. The trial lasted 3 days. The prosecution presented 40 videos from wedding guests. All showed my father grabbing the cake stand, swinging it, and hitting me. They showed the blood, the chaos, the aftermath. They presented medical records and photos of my wound and staples. The defense argued it was a family dispute, and my father lost control for a moment without intent to cause serious harm. The prosecution answered that my father grabbed a weapon and struck his son in the head because his son refused to give away property. That was not a family matter. That was a crime. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. They found him guilty. Assault with a deadly weapon. Sentencing was scheduled for February 3rd. On February 3rd, Judge Ramirez looked directly at my father. She noted he had no prior criminal history and had a job and family support. But she said the court could not excuse violence as a response to disappointment. She said my house was mine, built by me, and my father had no right to demand it and no right to attack me when I refused. She sentenced him to 2 years in county jail, suspended, 5 years probation, 500 hours community service, anger management classes, and restitution for my medical bills. Then she asked if I wanted to speak. I stood. I said my father taught me some useful things growing up, like how to change a tire and how to handle disappointment. Then I said he also taught me something terrible, that family can betray you, that love can come with conditions, and that I was only valuable if I gave away what I built. I said I did not forgive him. Maybe someday, but not that day. That day, I just want to go home to the house I built and lock the door. Then I sat down. 6 months later, in August, I sat on my back deck in the evening. I built the deck myself the month before, cedar planks, matching rail, string lights overhead. Crickets chirped. Fireflies flickered in the distance. Walter sat across from me with a beer. His old Ford truck was in my driveway like always. He looked around and said I did good work. I thanked him. He said again that my grandmother would be proud. Then my phone buzzed with an email. It was from Marcus, my former brother-in-law, for 43 hours. He said he thought I should know that Claire filed for bankruptcy last month. He said my parents were helping her through it. He also said none of them asked about me. I deleted the email. Walter watched me do it and said one word. Family. I let out a short laugh. Not a bitter laugh. A real one. The house behind me glowed with warm light in every window. Crown molding. Hardwood floors. Subway tile. Every detail done right. Mine. They tried to take it. They failed. Walter asked if I was okay. I looked at him, my neighbor who taught me plumbing, who picked me up from the hospital, who never demanded I sacrifice my life to prove loyalty. Yeah, I said, I am okay. And I meant it. The house stood behind me, solid and real. Built with my hands, my sweat, my time. They wanted me to give it away like it meant nothing, but it meant everything. They wanted to break me, but I was still here.